Hey, this is Declan Ryan, and in today's prosperity tip, I'm covering how to avoid failure. Now, this isn't an all-encompassing, include everything, how to avoid failure, but it's pretty much a guidepost as to the kind of things that cause people to be hemmed in and to multiply the effects of failure to ensure that the failure is terminal, if you like. Now, the first thing is you must expect failure to be part of the success process. There was a fantastic quote that I came across sort of illustrating this point by the founder of one of the world's largest hotel groups, J. Willard Marriott. And of course, I don't have the quote off the top of my head. He wrote, "Good timber does not grow with ease. The stronger the wind, the stronger the trees." Now, if you think about that for just a minute, if there's no wind, according to the analogy of this quote, then the trees will grow up, they'll grow up okay, but there'll be no sort of strength to them. There'll be no, when the first wind comes along, they'll be blown over. If you have adversity, if you're facing adversity, if you've had failures and you keep encountering failures and you learn from those failures, those will then be key towards your eventual success. If you're having absolutely no failures whatsoever, then how will you know how to deal with them when they eventually happen? Now, another way of looking on failure is, in fact, to treat it as I say, one of the necessary means of success. There was a story that I recall by one of Anthony Robbins' books, and he recalled the story of this chap that was in a maths class. He'd actually dropped to sleep, as I'm sure many of us have done during maths classes in our time. And he woke up just kind of like as the class was ending. And he saw there was this formula on the board. There were two problems on the board. And so he scribbled them down really quickly, just presuming that those were the assignments for the class and those were to be done. And he took them home and he worked at them and he tried to go at them. He couldn't come across any kind of solution, and he worked night and day. He actually tried working at it for the whole week. The whole reason that he carried on working at it was because he just thought, well, I'm not going to be the only person in class that hasn't worked this out, so I'm really going to work it out. And he gave it his all, just thinking that, everybody else is going to have this and he's going to be the odd one out. So he shows up at maths class there a couple of days later, and he presents the solution to the teacher. Actually, I think he was in university, so it would be a professor, wouldn't it? And the professor looked at it and he said, "Wow." And he was really amazed. And the boy himself, the guy, he'd actually solved two supposedly unsolvable puzzles, sums, call them what you like. And so the story behind the story is, if the guy had actually known that these had been presented as unsolvable sums, he probably would have given up after the first one or two or three attempts, perhaps. Just like, I can't do this. And in fact, this is what he was feeling when he was going through it first. But because he had the belief that this was a simple problem, or not quite simple, but other people would be solving it, he continued and he continued and he continued. So if you take from that, what you don't know is actually your friend. Because if you allow self-limiting beliefs to stop you along the way, such as this far and no further, that is what's going to be stopping you in your tracks. Okay, now I can't think of the situations where you can actually be in a situation where you can be certain that, well, this is either one thing or another. But failure by itself, just take away from this, is essential to your success. So in answer to the title of the video, how to avoid failure, is embrace it. Look on it in a different way. Don't look on it as terminal. Look on it as being creative. Look on it as being one of the tools that's going to get you towards your goal. Okay, and so with that being said, I hope you got some value out of this and out of these wonderful little stories, and make it a great day. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.